The challenge Spies, Lies, and Allies is coming to MTV with more international challengers than ever before.
And we live to tell the tale. We are so excited to give you guys the inside scoop on every single episode.
Listen to MTV's official challenge podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Away from 5 o'clock, I'm Mo Egger. This is ESPN 1530. Brenneman and Jones on baseball in just about 10 minutes. Speaking of Brenneman, Marty goes into the Reds Hall of Fame on Friday. They'll have his induction ceremony and then the Reds Hall of Fame Legends game featuring Team Bench versus Team Larkin. On Team Larkin is going to be a guy who, if you were to ask, I think most Reds fans, who is your favorite team that didn't play in the postseason? I know I would say the 1999 team. That was such a fun year for a lot of different reasons. It was a team that in many respects I think brought a lot of people back to the ballpark, obviously pre-GABP, and the central figure on that team, I will never forget finding out that the Reds had acquired Greg Vaughn, and as a senior at the University of Dayton, and how pumped we all were. And he lived up to the promise. He finished fourth in the MVP voting that year. He had 45 home runs. He was very much the emotional leader of that team. I'll never forget the home run he hit against the Brewers in game 162. He is going to be at Great American Ballpark on Friday night, and great to have him on the show. It's good to have you, Greg. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I am good. So I was in Milwaukee about a month and a half ago, and you threw out the first pitch before a Reds-Brewers game. And I'm sitting there with a buddy of mine, and obviously a celebrated figure for all your great years with the Brewers. And I said, number one, he looks like he could still give a team 30 bombs. Number two, I would love to see how great Greg Vaughn would have played at Great American Ballpark. And on Friday, I get a chance to see that. So that's exciting.
Well, you know what? You just told me something I knew nothing about. I know I was going back for Marty's induction, but now I have to get loose to get ready to play a softball game. Okay. Okay. All right. I've been on the road for about a week. I'm in San Diego right now. We had the perfect game, All-American game, and then I have some business to take care of, and, with my wine label and stuff like that, bottle signings. So I'm going straight from here to Cincinnati. I don't have a glove. I don't have turf shoes, but we'll make it work. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We have sporting goods stores in the area, so you can swing by one. When that year comes to mind, 99, it elicits so many fond memories for Reds fans. When that year comes up, what's the first thing that jumps to your mind? I think it's funny. I think the first thing that comes to mind was the phone call at 5 o'clock a.m. West Coast time from Mark Schott telling me I got traded. And, I think at the time, the reputation outside the Big Red Machine, in the later years after that were it wasn't the best place to go for players. You know what I mean? And so I had mixed emotions. I think I was upset about becoming the first player to ever hit 50 home runs and being traded and being a California guy. And if you think about it, that's the first time Tony Gwynn actually really ever got upset. The city of San Diego as well. And, Petco wasn't built for 14 years later because of, it was like it felt like it was a fire sale.
Right.
But in retrospect, going back to that was some of the, after I got there and got, past the whole goatee and we changed the menu in the clubhouse. And, as far as, eating rabbit food, and they want us to go out and, compete and all that other stuff and change the dynamics. I was with Dimitri Young yesterday, and that was probably some of the best and funnest baseball I've ever played.
Because I remember the whole thing about, well, he's going to have to shave his goatee, and you would come from a team that had gone to the World Series the year before, and I remember there was this vibe of like, all right, things have to start changing around here. Things have to start getting more modern, and maybe a guy who's had the individual and team success that Greg Vaughn has had can change that. When did you realize in the 1 year you were here in Cincinnati, because the team didn't get off to a great start, and yet by the middle of the summer, you guys are neck and neck with the Houston Astros. When did it kind of feel like, things are starting to change here for the better?
Well, I think we had to get used to, a new way of life, a different custom. Like I said, me and Barry, are friends. We have the same agent. We always did our whole career. Barry is a quiet, and like I said, man, he goes the ultimate professional. He goes about his job every single day. He's the pro. I'm sort of the pro with the big mouth. You know what I mean? And I think and when I say big mouth, I never embarrass anybody. I never try to make people feel bad, but I just try to change a mindset, why shouldn't we win? If you don't believe in ourselves or our teammates, why are we even playing this game? Why don't we just cash it in? And I think, with Pete Harnish, Denny Nago, Lark, like I said, he was a good cop, I was the bad cop. But also, you have to give, the Reds organization credit too, because as I was talking to Meat Hook yesterday, you got Dimitri, you have the mayor, you have Booney, you have Pokey Reed, you have guys and quality guys that were willing to buy into the new way of life. After the Big Red Machine, there wasn't a lot of success. After Eric Davis and who was one of my good friends, had the same agent also, and it was just a situation where we lost to the Giants the first opening, I think the opening series there.
Yeah.
And then we flew to Atlanta, and we lost 11-1 and 10-1, and I just come off of the World Series, and we won the West by 30 games, and I hit 50 home runs and get traded, so I was angry already. We shut the doors and let the coaches out and said, hey, this is not okay. This is not going to be accepted. We're going to play to win, and we're going to change the culture and the mindset of what we're trying to do here. And I think with that being said, we didn't let the coaches in that meeting. I think Atlanta beat us 11-1 and 12-0. And after that, we had a different mindset, and when we played for the name on the front and the back took care of itself.
That year, that summer was so much fun. And look, the player strike in '94 had taken a lot of people and turned them away from going to Reds games, paying attention to the sport. The team hadn't been really good the previous 3 seasons. So when I think of '99, I think of a year in which Reds fans came back to, at the time, Synergy Field, came back and paid attention. You guys brought people back to the ballpark. You're in this epic race for the NL Central crown with the Houston Astros. I will never forget game 162. You guys were in Milwaukee. You needed a win that night. There's like an 8-hour rain delay. The game starts. There might be 500 people at the park. It was the next to last year for County Stadium. If you guys lose, the season is over, and you hit the 3-run homer, it kind of gave everybody this huge sigh of relief. You guys go on to win. We know what happened the next night against the Mets, but when you think of game 162, when you think of that day, that night in Milwaukee, what memories come to mind?
Well, you know what? I forgot all about hitting 3-run home run in game 162. I just thought about we watched a lot of NFL football, because we were there for 8 hours. And the thing about it is, and this is one thing, I tip my hat to the Brewers, coming up and spending my first 8 years there. They're going to play hard every single day, and they didn't cash it in. And that whole weekend we played, it was delayed. We started that game 162 at 12 midnight. midnight.
Yeah.
We got back to, with the rain, cold, and we got back to Cincinnati, and we had a 10 at 1 o'clock or at 10 a.m. We had some crazy start time, and it was rainy and misty. And you know what? The Mets have been there for the whole night. Al Leiter did his thing, and the Mets, they beat us. But I think for me, there's a few things that stand out, over my career. People always say, well, how many home runs did you hit? You had a great career. I've never Googled myself. The only reason I know the home runs is because people ask me, can I sign those things? But I played for the respect of my teammates and my peers, and for the people in the stands. I have two things to say about that. I don't think just because you buy a ticket, you can say anything you want to players or people in the stadium. But at the same time, as a professional athlete, we owe it to them to give them the only thing that we can control, and that's our effort. We don't know what's going to happen as far as hits or the outcome, but we owe them the effort that we have. And those guys bought into it, and it was just sad, man, because at that time I thought, wow, I didn't know how I was going to really feel about coming there. It was the funnest baseball, the greatest guys, and, Robin Yount gave me the ultimate compliment. He said, and that's like my big brother / stepdad and Bob Uecker, all those guys. They're like, Bonnie, you could have played when we played because I didn't make excuses. And, when I stunk, I stunk. And I wasn't living up to what I was supposed to do. And I was, I didn't make excuses about it. And so that, that always stuck out with, Robin saying that, who was a hero of mine and a close friend. But then the next year, not getting that next run with that same team. And, hey, you get Junior coming home and you got Greg Vaughn. I'm taking Junior every time also. You know what I mean? I'm taking Junior every time. Being a West Coast guy, I'm saying the same thing here now. I'm like, everyone's like, hey, Vonnie, man, it looks like he can still play. You should be out. And I said, man, you guys finally got a real number 23. I take Tatis Jr. every single time. You know what I mean? So it's, but we finished, like you said, a tie for first and had a playoff game, which we lost. Too bad we didn't have the same system set up as we do now, or we'd still be playing. But you get Ken Griffey Jr., and which you have to take. It's a no-brainer. I mean, one top 5 of all time. And then, I was out again after 47 home runs. And that year they finished, because I told those guys, it was emotional for me. I told Dimitri, I told Case, I told Booney, I told Pokey. I told all those guys, hey, man, don't stop. Just keep going. Even though I'm not here, you guys are great players. You guys have a chance to do it. Mike Cameron, you guys have a chance. You guys are special. Don't go back to what it used to be. And that year, I think they finished second to last or last. And, all throughout the years, they were like, we miss Bonnie. So I think that's what I played the game for. I played for the respect of my peers.
355 home runs, by the way. And I didn't need to Google that, so I'm sure you didn't either. Travel safely to Cincinnati. Get limber, because they're going to need you, man. And I want to see if you can put one over the fence at Great American Ballpark. So I appreciate the time. Thank you, Greg.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I'll see you guys in a couple days.
You got it. Greg Vaughn in 1999 finished fourth. The year before, he's with the Padres. They go to the World Series. He had 50 home runs. He finished fourth in the National League MVP voting that year. And now that's obviously a year he does what he does in San Diego. 98 is Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. So Sosa, McGwire got pretty much all the first place votes. And Greg Vaughn finished fourth right behind Moises Alou. He comes to Cincinnati, and he finished fourth in the MVP voting that year. A 45-homer season, drove in 118 runs, and really, in many respects, you heard him talk about it, the leader of a team that, to this day, didn't make the postseason. But I think there's, I remember going through this in real time, talking to a lot of folks who hadn't been to a Reds game since before the strike. And in 99, that team was so much fun and so good. They won 96 games. Think about that. The 90 Reds won 91 games and won the World Series. The 99 team won 96 games, and under this system, they're the second wild card. Unfortunately, we didn't have that in 99, but that year, more than anything, I think about how that team made people interested in Reds baseball again. And Greg Vaughn was a huge part of that. So that was cool, even if it made us late. Thanks to Michael Anderson with the Reds for helping us out. Brenneman and Jones on baseball next.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
My dad used to say that.
Sure, yeah. It's from Geico.
Yeah, whenever I would ask my dad for life advice, he'd sit me down and say, son, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. And look at me now, a well-adjusted adult with a drawer full of plastic bags I'll never use.
Okay, I'm confused. Was your dad a licensed Geico agent?
Nah, he was just a real good dad.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.